Do you need to be an expert at customer service? Do you need to be responding to emails and reviews 24/7? No, but we need to enable our customer service team with the knowledge and power to respond to reviews. If we need to do warranty claims, what's that process look like?
This is the E-commerce Brain Trust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Brain Trust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Hello and welcome back to the E-commerce Brain Trust podcast. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and today we have another installment in my Amazon for CMOs podcast series. So if you're just tuning in, here's what's going on. I have a book coming out called Amazon for CMOs. This book is part handbook about the Amazon opportunity and part voice of industry from real retail executives like the guest of today's show, Byron Kerr. If you're a CMO or someone who works closely with CMOs, you're likely exposed to a sea of information about Amazon, and it can be very overwhelming at times to figure out a decent playbook for your brand. In Amazon for CMOs, my co-author Mark Power and myself dissect Amazon's leadership principles and decision-making frameworks to guide you in making your own decisions within this increasingly important channel. For the first few days after launch, the Kindle version of the book will be free. So sign up to our mailing list to get your free copy at launch. And we'll also have some promotions on the paperback and Audible versions of the book too. To sign up for that list, just go to amazonforcmos.com. Or if you're already on my mailing list at Bobsled Marketing, you'll also hear about it there too. So as part of this Amazon for CMOs series, today I'm talking with Byron Kerr, someone I've known for a few years now in the Amazon space, as he's also been consulting with brands around their Amazon channels for several years now. And today, Byron is the head of Amazon at the mattress company Tuft Needle. In this role, he leads the strategic execution on the Amazon sales channel, which includes both a vendor and seller sales channel currently, managing the annual Amazon marketing budget, and of course, liaising with all the other functional areas within the company that touch Amazon. So in this conversation, we talk about how this head of Amazon role came about at Tuft Needle. Byron's the first person in that position, and why the company ultimately decided that they needed a dedicated resource to wrangle this channel and lead all the initiatives within it. I'm seeing a bit more activity around like having a dedicated head of Amazon or a head of marketplaces or some executive level person in a function that handles marketplaces or Amazon specifically. So I think it's really telling and interesting to talk with people who are already in that role, sort of trailblazing in this functional role. So the whole point of this conversation is to talk about various approaches to Amazon and lots of decisions that need to be made around it. And Byron is certainly a wealth of information there about his thought process of his company, and hopefully some takeaways for you as well as you're thinking about the same questions and issues. So without further ado, let's chat with Byron. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today, Byron. I wanted to talk with you especially because you've got an interesting title in our world of marketplace and e-commerce, and that is Head of Amazon at Tuft Needle. So I was really curious to bring you on the show and talk to you for my upcoming book, because I'm seeing a little bit more of this actually, that within companies, you'll have a dedicated director of marketplaces. And in your case, it's Amazon specifically. So even before we jump into all of that, I'd love to hear from you about why this role exists at Tuft Needle. Was it around before you came in, or you came in and took that role? And why do you think that there's a broader movement towards having a marketplaces or Amazon specialist leader within branded manufacturers?
Yeah, for sure. I think when Tuft Needle launched on the Amazon platform, the company realized that there was value on being on the platform and more so being an early adopter. So we were one of the first mattress in a box companies to actually launch on the Amazon platform. And no one at the company had Amazon experience. So it was really just being scrappy, trying to figure out, how to scale marketing, how to ensure that the supply chain was correct to make sure that you're always in stock. And then more so how to generate reviews, right? That was the lifeblood and still is the lifeblood of Amazon today. So really the focus when we first launched was just making sure that customers trusted our brand through review generation and then ultimately scaling through marketing. Now, at the time, there was no head of Amazon, no head of marketplaces, nothing dedicated to Amazon. It was really a mixed basket in terms of responsibility. So certain people would work on it, certain people in marketing, certain people in supply chain. It was just kind of a tag team approach, no dedicated resource. Eventually, the head of supply chain at the time took ownership of the channel just because a lot of the Amazon channel and relationship is around supply chain and ensuring you're in stock. So that was probably for about a year and a half, 2 years with a lot of support from marketing, just because performance marketing on the AA platform is a huge driver and fuel for growth. But eventually we got to a level of scale where to get us to the next level, we realized that we needed a dedicated resource, someone that was experienced growing brands on the platform. And that's when they tapped me to join the team last year.
Well, congratulations. And you've had quite extensive experience working on Amazon for brands and agencies in the past, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I've worked in numerous industries. Actually had my own Amazon business on the 3P FBA side for about 2 years and really used that as kind of a learning platform for me to kind of dive deep into the platform and learn every and anything I can. And from there, use those learnings to help grow brands in the fashion, CPG, health and wellness, and other industries to grow and understand Amazon.
Yeah, that's great. And I imagine that folks like you are in pretty high demand for these marketplace leadership roles within companies. And I'd love to riff on this a little bit for a little while, if you don't mind. And that is talking about resourcing. And obviously, Tuft Needle has really committed to the Amazon channel. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought you on full time to lead the initiative. And then at the same time, a lot of companies are in a position where they need to outsource some of that initiative, or even in your case, perhaps you have like very specific niche skilled areas that you need to bring in outside resources, whether that is software, whether that is an agency, whether that is a consultant. So how do you see that playing out, not necessarily just at Tuft Needle, but within other branded manufacturers as well, how they're figuring how to resource their Amazon department, if you will?
Yeah, personally, when we look at the Amazon platform, let's call it 2014, 2015, managing that business was an extremely manual process. The amount of tools and softwares out there to manage your marketing, manage content, things of that nature were scarce. I mean, there were some tools out there to allow you to manage your business more effectively. But really it was an extremely manual process. And I think with Amazon growing so fast and brands having to actually focus and not ignore Amazon, there's been a lot of providers and agencies such as yourself that have come onto the marketplace really as kind of domain experts in the field and built out processes and software tools that allow brands to be more efficient and smarter than their competition on the platform. So when I look at the landscape of consultants, software, and agencies, I think there's no one right approach to how to manage your business. I think a hybrid approach has been what's most successful for me, where you can own some of the internal management, especially around marketing, leveraging software tools for automation, because AA is a real beast, and being able to kind of automate things similar to how Google AdWords and other SEM platforms have tools to automate the day-to-day management of the business with someone just overseeing and looking at it from a strategic lens. That's translated to the Amazon ecosystem. So I think that's one vertical that allows brands to scale. And then on the other side, leveraging experts within the CPG space or whichever space brands work in will allow you to kind of gain insights that you may not gain in your day-to-day knowledge, right? So if you're having a challenge with PO management, or should you participate or not participate in Prime Day and at certain discounts, and what should you expect from a forecasting perspective as you try to decipher Amazon's demand planning process. I think that's where consultants and agencies really provide value to kind of pull back the curtains a bit, share some of those secrets and tools and tips to allow you to make sure that when you're going to market on the Amazon platform, that you're putting your best foot forward and you have all the necessary inputs from a knowledge standpoint to make the best decision for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's something that there's from my side, running an agency, for every account that we work with, we really need engagement on the client side. We need someone who's empowered to make decisions and approve strategies and approve budgets and give us a direction, because, we're working for the brand. We still need to understand what does the business want? Maybe we shouldn't be promoting this product because the margins don't support it, for example. So there absolutely needs to be someone internally who has that accountability and is empowered to lead that channel. But then at the same time, like when I talk with some companies about resourcing, you shouldn't have the same person answering support emails as running PPC campaigns. There's very discrete skill sets, and in some cases, particularly with advertising, in my opinion, you really benefit from working with an agency who's looking across 5 different product categories and different platforms and seeing trends, not just within your account, but a whole array of other accounts as well.
Agreed. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one thing that Tuft Needle benefited from was, right now, brands are deciding, okay, it's 2 paths, right? Or potentially 3 paths. One path is I'm not selling on Amazon and my products are never going to be on Amazon. And that's a mistake, right? Third-party sellers are selling your product most likely, right? So that mindset is starting to shift into, okay, this is an important aspect or potential important aspect for our business. Let's make it a critical focus, bring in the right talent and partner with the right agencies or consultants to move the needle. And then third, brands like Tuft Needle, we understood that Amazon was going to be a big platform and continues to be a big platform for our business. So we invested early. We actually have dedicated CXers or customer experience reps that respond to reviews, handle warranty claims, just domain experts in kind of the operational aspects of Amazon. And then on the supply chain side and the marketing side, domain experts in those fields so that, as we scale the business, we can build processes that allow us to continue to win.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to group them into those buckets. And I imagine that those same people, let's say, for example, the customer experience people, they're not necessarily just handling Amazon, but they will handle inquiries from your e-com site, right?
Exactly. But they're domain experts in Amazon, so it allows them to play both sides.
Okay. And so you mentioned the strategy around Amazon has changed pretty significant for Tuft Needle over the last few years, basically going from not having a strategy to now having one under your leadership. And so is there any background there on why the platform hadn't been embraced? Was it a conscious decision, or was it just kind of like a lesser priority than other channels?
Yeah, I'd say when the company was looking at Amazon, because they had started the business within this digital native brand timeframe where brands were really focusing on e-com, but Amazon was still growing pretty fast. Us being on the platform, just saying Tuft Needle is going to sell on Amazon, just like owning that decision and saying that this is going to be an important sales channel for us, allowed us to get on the platform early. And then as we scaled our brand awareness off the platform, customers started saying, okay, I love this brand, right? I love everything that they're about. They're involved in their community. They're trying to change mattress buying, kind of the customer experience around that, but still not entirely comfortable going to their website and purchasing, right? So by doing a lot of advertising and marketing off platform, it allowed us to gain traction on platform for brands that, or for consumers that just would not sell on or would not purchase on, a DTC site. So with that, we were able to scale the business pretty fast year over year without really dedicating a lot of resources, right? Because as long as we were on the platform, customers were going to purchase. And as long as we maintain our customer reviews and things of that nature, customers were going to purchase. And once we realized that, we were like, okay, this is a great opportunity. How can we scale this to the next level? And that's when marketing and leveraging AA came into play.
So going from 0 to 10 was organic and almost sort of accidental. And then going from 10 to 100, you mentioned AA, that's Amazon advertising.
Yeah, that's Amazon advertising. Yep.
Got it. Okay, great. As the head of Amazon at Tuft Needle, where do you think the function of Amazon strategy and execution should live within other organizations, maybe that don't have a head of Amazon or a head of marketplaces? Does that need to sit with, the CMO or underneath the CMO? Or a lot of the times I see Amazon being handled in the sales division of traditional companies. What have you seen work elsewhere?
Yeah, I think companies I've seen that have been most successful on Amazon have placed this role within either the marketing or brand marketing teams. And that's primarily because they're closest to the product. And by inherent in their nature, Amazon is not a one focus area, right? Or a one focus channel. Whoever's managing the Amazon business, you're touching supply chain, coordinating with those teams. So you have to have some knowledge around how to move inventory, how to forecast, how to demand plan. You don't have to be a domain expert, but you need to talk the language so that when you correspond with those folks, you're able to execute on programs there, right? And then there's customer service. Do you need to be an expert at customer service? Do you need to be responding to emails and reviews 24/7? No, but we need to enable our customer service team with the knowledge and power to respond to reviews. If we need to do warranty claims, what's that process look like? If we need to replace things, what's that look like? So enabling that team to kind of own things. And then performance marketing, right? Naturally, that would fall within marketing. So kind of scaling all the content and initiatives that you're running on the platform through marketing is really kind of the fuel to the fire. But everything else has to be well-rounded and established for you to be successful. And then the marketing is just fuel to the fire once you have all your ducks in a row, strategically, cross-functionally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what I found from talking with CMOs in particular as well is that this Amazon channel touches every part of the business as well. There's a finance element to figure out what are we prepared to give up with margin to make an entrance to this channel, and then what do things need to look like after that. There's the supply chain piece of it, which you already mentioned. There's obviously marketing, which is probably more in their comfort zone. And then there's the operational factors around customer experience and stuff like that as well. So it's kind of like a whole company within a company that needs to have its own strategy. And then you also need to get buy-in from each of those other divisions to borrow resources and make sure everyone is on board with that strategy too. It makes a lot of sense to me to start seeing people with your title show up to actually do all the political legwork internally of getting buy-in from different departments.
Yeah. And even today, with as big as Amazon is growing and as fast as they're growing, especially in certain categories, CPG and furniture are two of their fastest growing categories, it's still a challenge to get buy-in, right? You have to manage channel conflict, especially for established retailers that have focused primarily on brick and mortar. You have to develop new promotional strategies, and how do you manage promotional cadence and channel conflict as a whole. So, yeah.
Okay, so my last question is about innovation, and Amazon's a company that's continually innovating, and there's new programs and there's new features and there's a whole lot of stuff going on at Amazon. How do you make decisions around where am I going to spend my time and my budget and my resources as it pertains to this channel?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's great about Amazon and what's getting better about Amazon is that, from a marketing perspective, it's very clear what the return on your dollar is, at least from a lower funnel perspective, if you're thinking about sponsored products. So if I spend $1 or $10, right, and I get $100 back, it's very clear that I got a $10 ROAS, and as long as that meets my threshold from a ROAS perspective, if that's the goal, then I can allocate more budget, right? Until you start seeing declining performance. So for us, it's really focusing on what the metrics are that we need to achieve, whether it's profitability or scaling top line. And then from there, building strategies around how do we achieve that. And while Amazon is still a black box in some instances on the type of data that they provide, obviously there's certain data points that they want to keep sacred, and which is respectable. But over the past year or two, they've really unlocked a lot of tools for brands, especially on the marketing side, to really show that, hey, if you're investing money on our platform, this is the level of data I can show you to show you that, hey, maybe you shouldn't be spending as much on Google and you should spend a little bit more here because the return's better. Or maybe if you have social budget, you can put it on our platform and leverage some of our tools around like Deals Live and things of this nature from an innovative standpoint, where you can be a first mover around some of these initiatives and really reap the benefits if you invest heavily. So Amazon definitely rewards you for spending. And as long as you maintain and monitor your metrics, you can scale to the moon.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that they do give you an edge if you sign on to a new program early enough and commit to that. Like the latest one I've seen is put a lot of marketing effort behind the new subscription boxes that they've launched. It looks to be about 100 subscription boxes on that new area of their site, and Amazon really wants to get that off the ground. So they are really giving a bit of free publicity to those brands who've got on board with that subscription box concept early.
Yep.
Great. Well, is there anything else you would like to mention? Any questions I didn't ask that you think would be helpful for your peers to know about?
Discussing some of the like private label programs that Amazon is running would be helpful.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, great. Let's talk about private labels. Are you concerned about them or not? Because Amazon, I think it was about 6 months ago, came out with their own private label mattresses.
They did, and we actually are in that program as well. We launched shortly after theirs. They have a basics product as well as their Rivet brand, which is their furniture brand. So yeah, we worked with Amazon on this program last year. And, for the private label program, it's really about identifying gaps in selection that trusted brands and manufacturers that Amazon knows can execute on. They partner with them to develop products. And then on the flip side, Amazon provides a lot of marketing and operational support to get the brands off the ground. So it's been a great program for us, and we continue to look for opportunities within that brand to scale new selection and new products. But yeah, I mean, it is a challenge. You're going one against your own brand, right? So we actually, a lot of brands in the private label space, they'll do an extension of their brand like we did, where there's an endorsement. And then other brands will actually just create a brand new brand that'll live solely on Amazon. And there's no connection to the, hierarchy brand at all. So there's different strategies that brands use. We felt that it was better to have the Tuft Needle endorsement, and it's allowed us to scale that business a lot faster than if it was just a brand new brand from scratch.
Got it. You're a manufacturer who is a supplier to the Amazon private label brand.
Correct.
And so I think a lot of people would be asking, aren't you concerned about cannibalization? Aren't you concerned about Amazon's private label, even though you're obviously, getting some business from doing the manufacturing there? Surely it's not as lucrative as selling your own branded products.
No, that's a great question. I think when we looked at the program, the number one thing we made sure to identify is how can we tap into a new customer segment that would never have purchased our original products. The price point and the product that we play in would not overlap or cannibalize our legacy business whatsoever. And we're going after a brand new segment that would have gone to a competitor. So it's a win-win for us.
Right. So this is business that you identified as you wouldn't have gotten that business anyway. That's not really your core customer. So we may as well make something out of this customer that we would never have had access to anyway.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you again, Byron. I really appreciate you contributing to this project. And where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you? Do you accept LinkedIn connection requests?
I do. Yep. My username is just Byron J. Kerr, and happy that I can contribute.
Thanks, and I'll catch you next week.